I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president.
Former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley on Tuesday kicked off her campaign for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, the first in her party to take on former President Donald Trump in the current contest. Trump is also Haley's former boss.
We are blessed to live in America.
In a video released Tuesday, Haley made no direct attacks on the 45th president, but she bemoaned Republican performance in past elections.
Republicans have lost the popular vote in 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections.
Haley served as the governor of South Carolina, who was tapped by Trump in 2017 to represent the U.S. at the United Nations. The daughter of 2 Indian immigrants who ran a successful clothing store in a rural part of South Carolina, Haley has gained a reputation in the Republican Party as a solid conservative.
It's time for a new generation of leadership to rediscover fiscal responsibility, secure our border, and strengthen our country, our pride, and our purpose.
When she left her post at the United Nations in 2018, Trump showered her with praise.
She's a fantastic person, very importantly, but she also is somebody that gets it.
But in the years since, Haley has distanced herself from the former president several times, only to later soften her rhetoric. After Trump supporters, egged on by the ex-president's false claims of election fraud, violently stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021, Haley told Politico she thought Trump had, quote, lost any sort of political viability he was going to have, and said she didn't think Trump would again seek federal office. But 9 months later, she changed her tune, telling the Wall Street Journal that Trump, quote, has the ability to get strong people elected, and I hope he continues to do that. Haley even campaigned with several Trump-backed candidates in 2022, many of whom championed Trump's election falsehoods. Most of them lost their races. Now, Trump and Haley are rivals, and she faces an uphill battle. A Reuters Ipsos poll released on Tuesday found that 4% of registered Republicans supported her. Trump, in contrast, received support from 43% of registered Republicans. Another prospective presidential candidate, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, had the backing of 31% of registered Republicans. The Republican field is expected to grow in the coming weeks and months.
We are sharing as much information as we can, as possible.
The White House on Tuesday said debris from the most recent unidentified flying object shot down by U.S. fighter jets over the weekend had not yet been recovered, citing tough winter weather conditions, but added that there was no indication they were part of China's spy program.
What we know is the intelligence community is considering as a leading explanation that these could be tied to commercial or research entities and benign.
Since the U.S. shot down a suspected Chinese spy balloon off the coast of South Carolina, 3 more unmanned flying objects have been shot out of the sky, the first over Alaska, the second over Canada's Yukon Territory, and the third over Lake Huron. Many questions remain unanswered about the 3 more recent flying objects, including where they came from. On Capitol Hill, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said senators were getting regular briefings on the matter.
U.S. and Canadian forces are working to recover the objects that were shot down. In the briefing, the military and intelligence people outlined their approach to each of the 4 objects. What I can say after our briefing is that our defense and intelligence agencies are focused like a laser on gathering every piece of information about these objects to figure out exactly what's happening.
The U.S. military and the White House acknowledged that much about the most recent unmanned objects remains unknown, including how they stay aloft, who built them, and whether they may have been collecting intelligence. Republican Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska, where an unidentified object was brought down on Friday, said the White House needed to be more forthcoming with information about the incidents.
When you don't provide information and there's a dearth of information, it can lead to wild speculation. It can lead to unfounded fears.
Meanwhile, the U.S. military, which has been analyzing debris from the Chinese balloon that was shot down on February 4th, says it recovered critical electronics, including key sensors, presumably used for intelligence gathering. China denies it was a spy vessel and on Tuesday reiterated an accusation that the U.S. was flying its own high-altitude balloons into China's airspace, aggravating already rocky relations between the two world powers. The White House has disputed China's claim, calling it false.
The EU is driving forward its switch to electric vehicles. On Tuesday, the European Parliament approved a law to effectively ban the sale of new petrol and diesel cars from 2035. It's part of the bloc's effort to fight climate change. Frans Timmermans is European Commission Vice President.
The Industrial Revolution is happening, whether we like it or not. We can choose to lead it. We can choose to do it in a way that is socially compatible with our values, or we can leave it to other parts of the world to lead it, and then all we can do is follow and deindustrialize.
The rules mean car makers must eliminate CO2 emissions from new cars sold by the middle of the next decade. The law will also set a 55% cut in CO2 emissions for new cars sold from 2030, compared to 2021 levels. That's much higher than the current target of around 37%. EU countries agreed the deal with lawmakers last October. Final approval by member states is expected in March. Many car makers in Europe have invested heavily in electrification. Volkswagen says it will only produce electric cars in Europe from 2033.
Crowds gathered outside the BBC's New Delhi offices on Tuesday as Indian tax officers searched the broadcaster's bureaus there and in Mumbai. The move comes as the government cracks down on streaming and sharing a BBC documentary critical of Prime Minister Narendra Modi over his role in deadly riots in 2002. A foreign ministry spokesperson last month dismissed the program as propaganda.
We think this is a propaganda piece designed to push a particular discredited narrative. The bias, a lack of objectivity, and frankly a continuing colonial mindset is blatantly visible.
Last month, more than a dozen students were detained in the capital for trying to screen the film. The program is called India, the Modi Question, and it focuses on the Hindu nationalist politician's leadership as chief minister of the western state of Gujarat in February 2002. Riots at the time left at least 1,000 people dead, most of them Muslims. Activists say the number is more than double that. During his career, Modi has been dogged by accusations he didn't do enough to stop the rioting. He's always denied wrongdoing. Government critics decried the tax-related search of the BBC. An opposition politician said it reeks of desperation and shows that the Modi government is scared of criticism. Modi's party, the BJP, said Indian institutions worked independently, and the tax department was within the law in looking into tax compliance. As well as India's opposition, media rights advocates have also condemned Tuesday's searches. And Britain's Foreign Office said it was keeping a close eye on reports. Meanwhile, online searches for India Narendra Modi documentary surged globally in the wake of Tuesday's news. As for the BBC, it said it's standing by its reporting, cooperating with tax officials, and remains committed to serving audiences in India.
We never know coming in what to expect, but we do know what we can bring to the students, the faculty, staff in this situation. For us, it's very rewarding that they can release that stress with our dogs. It's very sad to me. It's sad that so much of this is happening. I don't understand it. And I don't know what it'll take to stop it. But we're willing to be there whenever needed.